Welcome, dear friends, to Cardiac Radio at 11 p.m., nourishing our souls with one more Spirit of Truth. This book that is inviting us to redefine several elements of our lives, the inner part of all of us. So you and I are invited to the joy of coming along with Professor Eurípides Barçanufo, Meimei, Bezerra de Menezes, Emênio, André Luiz, Hilário Silva, Anália Franco, Manuel Quintão, and many others. And in this journey, the spirits that are working hand in hand with the Christ of the earth, they come today through Meimei to remind us about the importance of little things. It's the prayer of Crumb. So welcome and join us, because this is a moment to set us free. We're welcoming the truth into our hearts, consoling our hearts, and also recharging ourselves for a new week that is starting ahead, or for a new day, or for a good night. However it is, watching on demand or live, listening to it on demand or live, you and I are here to create a new beginning for us. Why? Because The Spirit of Truth is a book that was published in 1961 by several spirits through Chico, Xavier, and Waldo Vieira. They were in the city of Uberaba, Brazil, in the state of Minas Gerais, and this book came along 60 years ago. 60 years ago, and it's so current because the truth is never outdated. And today, they get inspired in a message, Meimei herself, inspired in a message of the book, The Gospel According to Spiritism. Chapter 13. Chapter 13 of the Gospel According to Spiritism is titled, Do Not Let Your Left Hand Know What Your Right Hand is Doing. It's talking about humility, it's talking about charity, talking about hidden misfortunes. And this one is about the widow's mite. Quoting the passage from Jesus, when Jesus was seated opposite to the offertory box, watching the way in which people dropped their money into it, and noticing that many of the wealthy were putting in large amounts, and a poor widow also came and put in only 2 small coins in the amount of a farthing. Then, having called his disciples, Jesus said to them, Verily I say to you, that this poor widow has given more than what all the others have put in the offertory box. For they gave all given of their abundance, where she has given of her poverty, everything she had, and everything that was left for her to live on. Question: are we giving to others everything that we have? Very likely, no. Vanessa, you're judging me? No. But we're just saying in general on earth, we are not. I'm not either. So Jesus is inviting us to revisit the essentials. Is it about the minimalism? No, because he's talking about giving to others. It's not only for ourselves. So Meimei, inspired in the widow's mite, she talks in a prayer with Jesus as a prayer of the crumb. Prayer of the crumb. Master, first of all, are you ready? Ready? Yes. Just to make sure, because this is a prayer. It's between Meimei and Jesus and us. Let's go along with her. Let us feel it, shall we, friends? How about if you and I feel it? Breathe in and out, visualizing Jesus in front of us and Meimei, praying, leading this prayer for us. Master, when someone is in prayer, referring to charity, make that person remember of me so that I can also help in your name. Many individuals stare at me indifferent, and many abandon me for useless trash. They say that I am an insignificant coin of no use to anyone. However, I want to become the last straw of medicine for the sick child. They throw to the distance when I appear in the form of a leftover piece of bread at the table. However, I still aspire to make joy of those who cry from hunger. Many people consider that I am an old rag for the mop, but I long to cover those who pass by during the night. Skin in the wind. Others claim that I am the rest of the food for the sewer gutter, when I can become the generous soup to nourish and console the one that lie alone in misfortune, reflecting on death. They say I'm just a crumb, and therefore they despise me. They may not know that once, when you wanted to talk about love, you told the story of the lost drachma, and reporting to the kingdom of God, you took on a mustard seed as the basis of your teachings. Lord, make humanity utilize me in the works of eternal good, and so that they understand the ability to work. They tell them that one day we were together in Jerusalem at the Temple of Solomon, between the wealth of the powerful and the sparkling jewels of the sanctuary. And tell them that you saw me and blessed me between the withered fingers of a poor widow in the form of a saint. Only a superior spirit can make poetry out of such an apparently insignificant thing. Only a superior spirit can value a coin, a crumb, a piece of cloth, a piece of bread. Chico Xavier, through whom this message came along, would stay in front of a line of several people, thousands of people, and he would give them coins, like dollar bills and cents, but in Brazil, of course, we're talking about, but that's the amount. And I always ask myself, where does this money come from, or where did it come from? And then one day, 2 years ago, traveling to Brazil and researching with Carlos in Virginia, starting with our good friend Geraldo Lemos Neto in Belo Horizonte, John Harley as well, Eugênio in who coordinates Meimei Spiritist Center, the president of the center in the city of Pedro Leopoldo. And then later in Rio de Janeiro, talking to one of Chico Xavier's good friends, a 90-year-old woman named Terezinha. We've come to know where it comes from. Talking to all of them, they confirmed. Majority of the money given in the distribution line came from a notary house in another city, and I forgot the name of the man, but it wasn't only his, but mostly. He would keep this, let's say, the tips that he received and the money that he received from people who wanted their documents notarized, he would collect for the whole month and then go give it to Chico Xavier. Chico Xavier, everything he received in donation, he reverted to people. But he never considered donations as being like $1 million and up or $1,000 and up. If he had a dollar, he would give a dollar. And I'm saying a dollar, figuratively speaking. It's like Brazilian money. He wouldn't refrain from giving this the cent. And then one day I asked myself, but really, Chico Xavier would give people just like a dollar, 50 cents. No, I can't believe it. And one day, in the year of 2014, 7 years ago, I was at the Spiritist Society of Baltimore, not as its president, but as a guest speaker, visiting friends, bringing baby Virginia for the first time. And when I was there, in the audience, there was a girl named Daniele. She came from the city of Uberaba, Brazil, in Minas Gerais, where Chico Xavier died in that city. He lived and died, though he was born in another city named Pedro Leopoldo. She came to me and said, Vanessa, I knew you're coming, and I brought something from Brazil to you. I'm like, oh, really? And I didn't know she was from the city of Uberaba. So she gave me this souvenir. They had Chico Xavier's face, his writings. And I said, really? You came from Uberaba? She said, yes. That's amazing. Wow, what a privilege and an honor. And she said, yes. Vanessa, do you believe me? I used to be one of the people going to that line with my mom. My mom used to be in that line often to receive some money from Chico Xavier and kiss his hand and have her hands kissed. I couldn't believe it. I said, excuse me, can you repeat that? And then I asked, how much money was he giving? Not much. But Vanessa, when you are poor, the little becomes much. I thanked God, and I do today again, for that confirmation that Chico Xavier walked the talk. He was coherent. He wasn't vain. Vanity for him wasn't anything because he never played games pretending that he was a great benefactor, giving thousands of dollars to people and distributing goods and being the benefactor. No, he would give a coyote, a cent, a dollar, a letter. Terezinha, Mrs. Terezinha in Rio de Janeiro, she showed to us, and we have it in the Spiritist magazine 2 years ago, published in 2019, where you're going to see the cover about Chico Xavier and our research. And we have the pictures of postcards and thank you notes and cards that he made the cards himself. He had this technique of working with flowers, drying them out and sticking them on the card, and then he would create almost like an art. Unbelievable. Chico Xavier knew the value of everything. When we go back to the Spirit's book by Kardec, when we study the first chapters, we know about the elements of the universe and we get to know. And now I'm going to draw to you because Mentor Joseph is asking us to do it, okay? To remind us. He's saying, remember, God, let's write it down. God. Now, here we go. Once again, God created the spirit, the spiritual principle, and the material principle. And then, when he created it all, he created one, he created the other. This is a reflection that he created the material principle as divine as it is, not only us, the spirits. So the material principle is divine. That's why we need to stop the abuse. We need to use it to evolve. Why we're saying this? Because the crumbs, sometimes we have one shirt. But Vanessa, I don't find anybody here in the US or in Europe. It's not easy to find people who need it. But that's our task, to find them. Google the organizations. Write on Facebook page saying, I am donating this. Who needs it? Go after churches, community places where people, especially now during the pandemic, many people lost their jobs. And we need to help families. So we need to go after people and give them a hand, my friends. Do not despise the crumbs anymore. Meimei is making the prayer as if she's the crumb, saying, make humanity use me in the works of eternal good. Understanding that Jesus blessed the crumbs. So next time I have a pen or a book or a pencil or a computer or a car or clothing or bread, remember, Jesus blessed it. Pass it on. When Chico Xavier would give it, he would not give it. He would kiss the hand of the person and allow his hand to be kissed in return. And at the end of the day, people used to say that his hands would be swollen for the much that it was shaking hands with everybody. Are you feeling the love? Because Meimei is saying that Jesus, when he was teaching about love, he told about the importance of little givings. A Nobel Peace Prize years ago, not the Peace Prize, in economics, got it because he started this loans small loans for people who needed maybe $5, $10. Not in the US, somewhere else. And people recognized that that helped so many people. We no longer can say what we have is nothing. What is nothing for us may be much great for somebody else. And I will finalize by telling you a true story without names of a couple, the man and the wife. They had a child. The woman stopped working. At some point, she needed to find ways to help as well. Couldn't work much because she had a child to care for. The husband had some money. And one day, this husband, when they were talking about giving to others, he understood that he needed to give to others. But he never accounted that the one who needed the most was right under the roof of his house, his wife. She needed help to go to the doctor. He didn't notice. He gave some money to her so she could give to somebody else without noticing that the person who needed most was under the very same roof. Why am I saying this to you, right? Mentor Joseph is asking us to observe the closest people in our lives. Because often we think of something in Africa, in Brazil, but there are people who need help right here in these lands where we are. And we are not paying attention. Today, you and I will feel, get a coin, put it in our hand, visualize Jesus blessing it. In the next 24 hours, you and I are invited to do this exercise of the heart. The leftovers, some piece of cloth, piece of bread, an insignificant coin, we're going to visualize Jesus blessing them with his hands, and we're going to give it a better destination. That's our exercise, okay? Shall we do it? Yes? And visualize Meimei guiding us through this prayer of Crumb. It's all about love, as she says. Jesus inviting us to maximize the distribution of love. Don't forget, the material things are as divine as we are. Thank you, friends, for being here with us. One more time, in the spirit of truth, a moment that is setting us free one day again. Thank you, friends. Bye-bye.